allemaal blijven zitten. Ik ga wel even in het Engels overschakelen, zodat ze ook mee kunnen volgen. Welcome both in Gent, in Belgium. We're here in the beautiful, cozy Sphinx Cinema. How is it for you two to see your movie on the screen here in Belgium and also in several other countries? Because remind me, how many festivals are you both attending, or you attending to present the film?
I think it is 23 festivals.
23.
After Berlin and Beijing, and it's going really all over the world, except in America.
Except in America?
No, there's no will to see it.
Yeah, okay.
No wish to see it.
No, okay, great, that's clear. Yeah, maybe we can start with the audience. Maybe.
Yeah, just introduce my friend here.
Of course.
She's also editing, and we have worked together on this movie.
And I'm glad she could come with me.
Yeah, I introduced you a little bit in the Dutch introduction. So you're Mina Vibeke, is that how I pronounce your name correctly? Yeah, and you both worked at the restoration of the film. Is that also correct?
We were sitting in the editing room
together. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yes, can I ask the public here, did you feel any connection to this subject in the movie, and how did you feel? Do you hear me? I don't know if you hear me.
Yeah, I think maybe we can also switch, because this works definitely. So.
Okay. I'm curious to know if you had any connection with this subject in this movie, which is so old, and tell me right away now if this kind of concern you.
Yeah, oh, wow, that's loud. Sorry. What I found very interesting is that a lot of the discussions you had are discussions that I almost word for word have also had with friends of mine within the television industry and outside of it. So it's very strange in a way to see that we are still having the same conversations, even, I don't know, what is it, 50 years later?
30 years.
30.
No, 50. I'm sorry.
And I was just wondering, what was it like for you both maybe to go back in time like this? And have you also noticed maybe the same thing, that we are still having the same kind of discussions?
Well, that's why we... I'm sure that's why the Norwegian Film Institute gave us the money to finish the movie, because there is a lot of women deciding in the Film Institute, and they said, well, this is not so different today. But I can maybe give my idea what I felt like. Oh, we have been working a lot with human rights. We have been working our own rights, and a lot of papers came out of it, and we have had meetings and a lot of work. And when it comes to today, you see that we have no real power, really, because we are not invited into the rooms where the decision of making a war or peace is made. There is no women who we can identify with. I think they're kind of putting the finger on it, that the women who comes in there, they are always agreeing with man, so that's why they come in. So there is most of the women today is very frightened of, are they coming a war, not a war? They are relating to this message they get all the time, but we have no voice, really. That we mean we have no power where it comes to the big things who happens in the world, unfortunately. Yes, anything? Do you have any comment? Do you have any comment to what I said?
It's not really comment, maybe also a question. Maybe an obvious question, but I was wondering, at the time it seemed you were there with the a cameraman and a soundman, two male technicians. I wonder what the effect of this was in this and surrounding, which was so full of women, and how they responded to their presence. Or did you notice that the response was in a peculiar way, or that's what I wonder.
Can you translate for me?
Yeah, no worries. She's asking. Sorry, I will
That's okay.
try to. Yeah, there were two male technicians in your team, and her question was if this changed the atmosphere at the festival or in the room, which was so full of women.
I think they got the point, and this was in 1973. We were about to change, so they were both aware of where they was, and I think they were very helpful. They were going into our premises, as you can hear, and they were not stopping anything. They were just, trying to get this atmosphere into the movie. And as you see, these women, we didn't know each other at all, and they're different as women today, young women. They're no posing. They're very natural. We are not afraid of each other. We don't know each other, but we do know each other after 5 minutes. I think that we are practicing what we miss today, diplomacy, and a way of talking where we are very creative and listening to each other. So I think that we are showing our best sides in this conversation. Did you feel that this was very far away from your generation when you saw this?
No.
No.
No, I suppose I reacted the same way as I feel most audience reacts from these screenings when I first saw the material. It was shocking in a way to see that, yeah, these are the same conversations that we're still having, and we still sort of don't know how to get out of that situation. We don't have like any real plans for it. We just talk about them still, yeah. And that was sad. I was sad when I saw the material. But also, like you said, struck by how comfortable they were talking about these things, because I feel like today we might feel more uncomfortable speaking out about some of these things, because then you are labeled as a nuisance, a complainer, or somebody who doesn't really have any talent, because then you have to complain. So in one way, we have stepped back. Of course, there are lots of progress is made, but some things we can still work on, I think.
Any comment to that?
Yeah, I think that one of the things I found so captivating about this movie is how, with what type of like diplomacy the women are talking about something so necessary to be talked about, and that you can feel the urge to talk about these topics, but still the way that they form their sentences is so to the point and correct. And even now, as I'm sitting here in a room with almost only women, still there's something inside of me that was like scared to raise my hand and comment on the movie, which is crazy to think, because like this is such a safe space, and still you feel the urge to talk, but there's this like fear to talk about it.
Yeah, really? Well, you have now the possibility to be one
Yeah.
of these girls, We have a meeting.
Exactly,
Anyway.
yeah. Which I think is beautiful about the film, that it opens up the discussion again.
You like that?
Yeah.
I'm glad. Because usually I'm sitting like you and I see directors and producers, they're sitting there talking and I can never get into it.
Yeah.
So I think that is it's very good for me anyway, and also for you. Mm.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm not from the film industry, I'm actually a textile artist, but I'm very passionate about cinema, and I also use a lot of like cinematic techniques in my practice. So for me, I move more in a very female-dominated field. For example, at school, or the class is only consisting of women, and it's been like that for a lot of generations. It's actually odd if there is a guy or male attending our classes, but still being surrounded by women all the time, I actually feel a lot of these pressures that the women in the movie talk about, that they feel that men make them feel, and it's all women in one classroom in my case, or in one field of art. So there was a part in the movie which I really related to, that sometimes women, to feel accepted or to be accepted in certain fields, in this case cinema, they have to start acting like men and then it's like this internalized misogyny, or like internalized like women pitted against women, and I still very much feel that even in my field, which is very female dominated, and maybe like something completely different for me, it was also very inspiring to see how beautiful these women were, because growing up in like this digital era where you're constantly confronted with beauty standards, and it's very much like we're very always worried about our looks. I just felt like these women were so beautiful.
I agree with you. There is no makeup.
Yes, they were so natural, and so they were just like normal women. It was very refreshing, even though it's a movie made 50 years ago. So it was very refreshing to see these faces. So I don't really have a question specifically, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, I'm glad if they impressed you. And I'm also thinking that there is something wrong with the women movement, because it's somehow some of the women are not faithful to themselves being women, so they are trying to be like man, and dominate and be authority to other women. And I think a lot of women withdraw from the women's movement because of that. So I am all the time interested in the common woman. I'm not interested in the women who makes like career on the wrong attitude, if you do understand, just to jump up where the guys are. But I think we have a lot to give, especially I see it today, when I think we are going into a very masculine society, where everything is about war, weapons, and bombs, and building up this society which is going completely against being a mother, having children, having a responsibility for your husband, your children. And so I'm a little bit afraid, where are we going? And are we continuing like this, making one war, 2 wars, 3 wars, and we have no influence? I'm sorry. And like we have seen in Gaza, we women are the victims of this developing of bombs. It's really we who gets them in our head. So it means that everybody has to think and see what can we do to influence on diplomacy and talking ourselves into this room where the decision of war and peace is decided. We cannot just say outside and see that we are going into this destructive situation. Any comment to that? Could we speak a little louder? Because I think the microphone is a little weak.
Yes, can you hear me now? Yeah?
Yes.
Loud and clear, perfect. I was wondering whether you maybe saw or noticed a kind of evolution in the male response to these topics, because, well, of course, I believe that in order to actually address these issues and to change them, that we do need the awareness and also the effort of men as well to want to change these things. Otherwise, we might not be getting in anyway. So I was wondering if you noticed any difference between when these topics were raised for the first time in the 70s and now that you brought them up again. Maybe some male responses you encountered making this film of the Norwegian National Library, maybe on the tour. Yeah, have you noticed any evolution in that?
Well, I was in Beijing, and there was young women and young men, in not so many here I can see, but they were also interested in the same, because we all feel like someone not important today. So they also want another world. They also want to influence on what we see today without violence, but with diplomacy and, have a good life instead of going into wars. So, what can I say? Would you say something?
I wasn't around in the 70s.
No, you were not around in the 70s. No, she's just 42 years. So, well, do I speak about something who interests you? Yes.
I would like to hear a bit more about the montage that you did now, the editing. What choices were made in selecting material? Why did some parts have music and we didn't hear the conversation? Is it because the sound is lost, or and how did you select this? What we saw today?
Yeah. Before I talk to Mina, I will say something that this could have been a very short movie if we made it in a traditional way, where we cut out everything which is not perfect and people are unsure, they don't speak well English. But and we had that meeting around that because you're used to perfectionism, to be, edit perfect films. You don't keep what is not, disciplined. And this you see on TV, in all documentaries. People can talk, they can deliver, and they are editing very well in TV. You never see people like you see here. They are trying to find words for intimate problems they're talking about. And then we had this talk. We are going to keep all what is imperfect, not perfect, because it gives a human, a meeting with human in another, and gives another character. It comes closer. It's more intimate. You feel like something new for you in a way. So that made, you can see in TV today, the censure is in the editing of perfectionism in a way, because there is a lot of direction and caretaking, so everything comes out perfect. And I like this imperfective scenes in this movie, really. And that we kept all the sayings, and it gives you also an impression of the time, because this is not video, it's a movie, it's film. And it was like this that time. We had to retake and retake if the film went out. But we didn't here. So you can say something as an editor, please?
Yeah, maybe like what was the biggest challenge for you editing the film?
Oh, I think we found the direction really early. I mean, Vibeke was very clear in her direction. She wanted to keep, to paint a picture of this time, to keep all the things that weren't perfect. It's very easy to sort of look at the material and think, okay, let's intercut like this topic with this topic and sprinkle some B-roll on the top. We never did that. We never tried that, and we didn't want to interrupt them. We wanted them to speak, and we didn't sort of side or choose things because we didn't agree with what this person was saying. We just let them say what they had to say. And about the sort of the parts in between the interviews, yes, it was challenging because I don't know exactly, but probably there's something that's lost here. First, the rolls of film were found. A year later, the sound appeared. And probably there's rolls gone, you know. We had pictures without sound, we had sound without picture, and we sort of had to try to find a way to use everything. Yeah. So that was probably like the biggest challenge, but it wasn't. It was fun.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And how was it to rediscover the footage, because you hadn't seen it in so many years, right?
Yeah.
What kind of emotions does that bring up?
Well, first I saw myself 50 years ago, before I married, before I got children, you know. So, but I saw also, I was very clear on my mission. I had this abortion movie on that festival. And so I was already very much into the topics of women and what difficulties we had and what restrictions we had in the law system. But I was right away very much happy to see it, and I had to wait for 2 years before I got the money. But we were invited to Arsenal on the film festival because they saw the movie. They were also interested. So when we got this invitation, we also got the financing from the Film Institute in Norway. But it was not much. I've lost a lot of money myself to make this.
Still the same problems as back then, looking for the funds.
Yes, it is. And if it's a little bit political or like, different, it's even more difficult.
It's more challenging.
Yeah, and that's a pity.
And what were the plans back then when you shot the footage? Did you have anything in mind back
Yes,
then?
I went straight to the state TV in Norway and asked them if they could see my pitch. They saw it and they said no. And then I didn't have any producer for the movie. I didn't have any money. So it went, the producer who helped me to do it, he kept it. And then he went background after some years, and then the things were lost.
Yeah.
So.
And can you describe how it was rediscovered? The story, like, was it the library, the Norway?
Yes, it was the National Library of Norway. Very good people, scientists, interested people.
Okay. Yeah, I have some questions. Does the audience maybe have another question? Yes, okay.
My name is François de Puter. I'm not in films, I'm a farmer. I grew up with a mother and 6 sisters, and they make my life quite hard. But to see this movie was very, very good. And what I want to say, the women now, this time when you walk on streets in the cities, they are looking beautiful. They are well dressed, very nice clothes, very sexy, makeup everywhere, very difficult to reach. And when I see the woman here, they are really natural, what the woman here said, they are really natural, and they speak ingetogen, I don't know the English word, maybe someone can translate.
They speak in
very quiet and very
a little bit reserved, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit reserved, yeah. But it was very nice to see how they spoke over all those items, because it was a very hard time for the woman at that time.
Yes.
It's a personal thing for me. I had a very good girlfriend. I just talked with my friend this evening for more than 30 years, and 3 years ago she cancelled me by social media and everything. And I don't know why till this moment. It's personal, of course, you don't have to answer because you don't know, but I don't dare to ask her why. And that's a little bit the difficulties for me as a man, white man, and of course not a good man, but I like to be that the woman will be again like in the movie.
Wonderful. Thank you. It was a beautiful story.
I hope.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't a nice story. It was a nice story.
Pardon?
I don't think it was a very nice story.
No, but it's very nice that he stands up and tell this. That means that we are having a dialogue, and you can open even if we don't know each other, and that's a confidence. And this confidence that lacks also this woman who can't say why she went. That's lack of confidence.
But I don't know if he asked.
Oh, well, I think he has for sure expressed that you need an answer.
Does anyone maybe have a question about the film? Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can speak loud.
Thank you very much for this beautiful film. I'm really happy that it finally saw the light of day in the end. And I was wondering if maybe you could comment on after you have managed to make a film as a female director, because I feel that even then women directors are still being held to a different standard. A film is too feminist or not feminist enough. And I was wondering what your experience is on this topic.
Are you asking if women are making movies more, or if that is easier, or I didn't understand your question?
It's more like when a woman makes a film, I feel like the reaction to the film is quite often on the topic of femininity, like is it feminist enough, or is it too feminist? Like, for instance,
it always gets a certain stamp, or is looked through a certain lens
of
feminism.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
still,
the question.
it is.
Yeah.
So that means we are not equal with the males who makes movies, you can say. But also, I think we are trying, I think, as far as I know, to make more personally movies, more naked movies, and we try to have dialogues on real things who concern human beings. While we see all the male, they are making movies about Second World War, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they get the money. Because they are making these movies who gets really the people coming to cinema. And maybe we don't do that yet. So they get, women get 25% of possibility of making movies, and the male is getting the rest. They're getting the high budgets always. But I think for me, I've made many movies, always on very risky subjects, like divorce, pedophilia, rape, all this.
Gaza as well.
Pardon?
Gaza as well.
Yes, and the Tears of Gaza, from the war when they closed up the Palestine in 2008. I've made that movie, and it's have been really one of my big, good things I've done, with big risks, of course. But so, I mean, I think I will not call what I have done for a career, because I am not interested in careers. I'm just interested to make movies who opens the heart and mind of people.
And do you feel like your activism has always been present in your filmmaking throughout your whole career?
What do you mean, activism?
Like you, like the topics you bring to the screen are, as you said before in the conversation, pretty risky.
Yes, yes.
You always take a stance about.
Yes, I do take a stance on things which is not common, which is kind of covered up in society, and I have a lot of trouble afterwards. And because of that, I was stopped for 20 years. They didn't give me any money, and then I developed the talent of being a writer. So I wrote 6 novels. So always, and I got a great audience, and they were international known and so on. Yeah, and 3 of my movies was in Cannes. Yeah. So I mean, I also reached out in a way.
Definitely. Does anyone else have a question? I see some hands. Yeah,
Speak louder.
It doesn't really work.
No, it doesn't work, this thing.
I can also repeat the question.
Okay. Yes. So first of all, it was a beautiful movie. I very much enjoyed it. But what I noticed is, of course, because it was in the 70s, a lack of women of color in this event. And when we talk about women filmmakers that have a disadvantage in getting producers on their side or getting a team to work in harmony with each other, I guess I kind of feel worried for going into the film industry later, because I know that I am realistically at a bigger disadvantage in the industry. And you have worked for years now in the industry, so I just wondered if you have seen any change for women of color in the industry, and if you can maybe predict where it would be going in the future for women of color.
Well, it's a very difficult time for movies now, and financing all over the world. And I suppose that women then will have it even more difficult than the male. It's always like that. So I cannot give you an advice to go into this industry or this art today if you don't make movies like this. Because in the middle of the 60s, we had a kind of revolution when it comes to movies, because we broke with the American film industry and the dramaturgy and the way of making movies in big studios, very expensive. And in France, came up directors like Godard, Truffaut, and others, and they went out to the street. They made movies in a low budget, and everybody was very interested. And I think that we have to go back to that. We have to go back and do the similar things, and just getting possibility to have a voice, to say something. Make it simple. Don't dream of becoming a big director, but make intimate film and be truth and natural as women. And go down to basic, what is your life? What is the system around you? You will see that the system is made for guys and not for you to really succeed. There is too many stops, you know. And that is the really, and also for man, I would say. I mean, we are living a very hard and tough life to survive economically, and so we should respect ourselves and see really how we are striving to enjoy life, because it is hard. And there you have to start. The reality today. What is that for you today? Is it hard to have a boyfriend? Is it hard to have a marriage with children? I mean, do you feel safe? Do you feel afraid? We have to start speaking about this again. And together with the man. So I think it's important that we don't isolate man, so they think that we are coming up again with a very tough movement, because the time now is difficult for everybody. So we have to work together. Would you like to say something? Or someone else?
Okay. So actually, I just wanted to tap in quickly back to the question that someone asked earlier. Yeah, specifically for Mina, actually, because obviously the film material, it was all analog, 15 millimeter, if I'm correct. So how was that for you, being from a different generation, to work with this technology that has been like digitalized now, that is very different from what you work with nowadays?
Well, I was actually around. I used to be a focus puller on 16 millimeter when I started, so I do sort of know the tactileness of film from earlier. But I think the bigger thing was, because it's 50 years later, and you want to be respectful of what they're saying and understanding what they're saying, so that you sort of know what you're working with. And there's a lot of like language things, much more than the medium. What does it mean, what they're saying, in, you know, because it's a long time ago. Mostly it's easy to understand, but there was a lot of like discussions around what are they actually talking about when they mean, what do they mean when they say the media? What was that in 1973? So as for like the time gap, that was a much bigger thing, to understand the context. As for being 16 millimeter, that was just lovely, you know, all of the, you know, you can almost feel it, you know, you can almost taste the dust, and that's nice.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Like, I also work a lot with analog techniques, so that's why I was also curious if maybe now that, I mean, I assume that you work more with digital techniques nowadays, like, has it re-inspired you to maybe tap back into those analog techniques, because they have this uniqueness that like maybe very specifically like the grain that you cannot get almost with digital. Like also a lot of filmmakers are going back to filming on IMAX with Technicolor. So you see like this nowadays with new cinema, or they're tapping back into those analog techniques to kind of get some that's feeling that only analog has.
Yeah, as an editor, you always sort of just get what you get, you know, don't have a say in the choice of medium. But one thing as an editor, because I worked on several projects shot on film today, and that is that film delivers something else also because it's different to work with. Discipline on set is a much bigger thing than when you're working with film. You can't just roll and roll and roll. When it's digital, they can roll. You can have 7 hours of material from one day of shooting. So it sort of requires more precision to work with film, and that's an art form that's been lost along the way, I think, which is worth something. You can't just hit play and watch back what you just shot. You have to look at the monitor and you have to be present in the moment to decide, did we get this scene or not? So that's kind of refreshing about film. It means that everyone needs to be more disciplined on set.
I see that it's time to close up, maybe. But I wanted to thank you too for attending the film festival, for being here. I also want to thank Sphinx Cinema and the Film Festival of Ghent, and of course you, the audience, for being a part of the evening. This conversation reminded me of how urgent and resonant the voices in film and our voices still are today as women. And we're grateful for you too, for sharing your memories and reflections with us. If you would like to stay in touch with Girls on Film, that's my collective, by the way, you can follow us on social media. It's at Girls on Film BE. And for the rest, I would like to wish everyone a very wonderful rest of the evening. Thank you for being here. And if you want to say something, of course.
This, for me, was a very beautiful conversation. And I'm very happy you came. Thank you.